like they broke legs for a living. You move any of that stuff, I'll break your leg, Mel threatened them. Please be careful, one brother said deadpan. He might trip and break a leg. Defeated, Mel retreated to the only sanctuary he had left, the diner. Alice walked in the next morning to find the diner transformed into a refugee camp. Mel's sofa was jammed into a booth. His lamp was on the counter. His clothes were draped over the stools. Mel, what are you doing here? Alice asked, stepping over a pile of laundry. I live here now, Mel said miserably from inside a sleeping bag. My mother is a greedy landlord. She kicked me out. Carrie bought your building so she could evict you? Alice asked, stunned. Carrie walked in a moment later, looking fresh and rested. I didn't think he'd come here, she admitted to Alice. But I need someone to manage the building when I go back to Brooklyn. Alice saw the opening. She was the Kissinger of the diner, the peacemaker between the warring Sharples factions. Carrie, Alice said. Mel knows all the rent dodges because he's tried them all. He's meaner than a watchdog. That's true, Carrie mused. If you let him live rent-free, he'd manage the building for you, Alice proposed. Carrie looked at her son, currently eating cereal out of a prep bowl. Ma, Mel said, putting on his best pathetic face. I would treat it like it was my own house. That's a disgusting thought, Carrie shuddered. But she smiled. All right. Deal. Chapter 18. Wings to Fly. While Mel was fighting for his apartment, Alice was fighting a quieter battle, the battle of letting go. Her son, Tommy, was 17 now. Mom, I'm only 17. Tommy had complained when she tried to dress him for a wedding. King Tut was 16 when he got married. In those days, they didn't have television, Alice retorted. You had to do something, but the reality of his growing up hit her hard when Tommy announced his plans for their upcoming vacation time. We're gonna take an overnight trip to Flagstaff, Alice said excitedly. I want to show you the joys of hiking. Tommy looked uncomfortable. Mom, this might be our last trip together. You know, Alice froze. No, it's not. It might be, Tommy insisted gently. I'm gonna want to travel with my friends in the future. First a weekend, then the great U.S. of A., then hitching through Europe. Alice felt a pang in her chest. Europe, Paris. Oh, Paris, Alice sighed, masking her sadness with a dramatic flair. You'll write poetry on the left bank. You'll meet Mimi. She'll invite you to her garret. You'll get married in Notre Dame. Mom, and I'll never get to know my grandchildren because I can't speak French, Alice lamented. C'est la vie. It was a joke, but it wasn't. Alice had spent years working at Mel's, waiting for her big break, trying to raise Tommy alone. And now, he was preparing to leave the nest. When they got to the bus station, Alice hugged him a little tighter than usual. I'll miss you, Tommy said. I'll miss you too, Alice smiled, tears pricking her eyes. But not as much as I'm gonna miss this. She watched the bus pull away. She was still a waitress in a diner in Phoenix. She was still pouring coffee for Henry and arguing with Mel. But she was standing on her own 2 feet. Back at the diner, Mel was yelling about the ketchup supply. Vera was trying to balance 3 plates. Jolene was flirting with a customer. I'm back, Alice announced, tying on her apron. You're late, Mel barked without looking up. Get the coffee pot. Alice grabbed the pot. She looked around the chaotic, noisy, greasy diner. It wasn't Broadway. It wasn't Paris. But for now, it was home. Coming right up, Mel, she said. And life at Mel's diner went on. Part 1. Echoes in the Heat. Chapter 1. The 110-degree blues. The sun in Phoenix didn't just shine. It leaned against you. It was a physical weight, a heavy, stifling blanket of dry heat that pressed down on the roof of Mel's diner, baking the asphalt shingles and making the neon sign out front buzz with an agitated, insect-like hum. Inside, the air conditioner rattled in a losing battle against the Arizona July, chugging along like an asthmatic smoker trying to run a marathon. Alice Hyatt wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand, balancing a tray of dirty dishes on her left shoulder. Her uniform, pink, and starched to within an inch of its life, felt like a suit of armor that had been left out in the desert sun. "Mel!" she shouted toward the service window, her voice cutting through the din of clinking silverware and low conversation. "Pick up on 4, and try not to kill the burger this time, okay? The customer wants it rare, not cremated." From the kitchen came the familiar crash of a pot being thrown into a sink, followed by the gravelly baritone of Mel Sharples. "Stow it, Alice. I cook him how I see him. If he wants raw meat, tell him to go bite a cow." Alice sighed, offering a tired smile to Henry Biesmeyer, who was perched on his usual stool at the counter. Henry looked like a man who had been shaped by the diner itself, slightly slumped, comfortable, and worn around the edges. He was nursing a cup of coffee that Mel claimed was a robust blend, but which everyone else knew was essentially hot, brown battery acid. "He's in a mood today," Henry observed, adjusting his glasses. "He's Mel," Alice corrected, sliding a fresh napkin holder toward him. "That's not a mood. That's a lifestyle. How's the phone company treating you, Henry?" "Same wires, different voices," Henry deadpanned. He picked up his menu, though he'd memorized it a decade ago. "Speaking of voices, what's the commotion in the corner booth?" "Vera looks like she's trying to perform an exorcism on a paperback book." Alice followed his gaze. In the far booth, bathed in the harsh afternoon light filtering through the blinds, sat Vera Gorman. She was hunched over a hardcover book, her eyes wide behind her glasses, her lips moving silently as she devoured the text. Beside her, Jolene Honeycutt, the diner's resident ball of southern fire and blonde ambition, was applying a fresh coat of lipstick while peering over Vera's shoulder. "It's that new autobiography by Felicia Blake," Alice said, leaning against the counter. "Vera's been obsessed with it all morning. Apparently, it's chock full of fiery passions, according to the dust jacket." "Fiery passions?" Henry chuckled. "In this heat? That sounds like a health hazard." "Mel!" Alice shouted again. "Order up. I'm coming. I'm coming." He was a man built of equal parts bluster and beef tallow, with a white t-shirt that had seen better days and a face that looked like it had been carved out of a Brooklyn sidewalk. He slammed a plate onto the counter. "Burger, rare." "It's practically mooing." "Happy?" "Ecstatic," Alice said dryly, taking the plate. Mel wiped his forehead with a rag. "What are you girls doing over there anyway?" "Vera, you're supposed to be refilling the sugars, not reading trash." Vera looked up, startled, nearly knocking over the salt shaker. "It's not trash, Mel. It's literature. It's Felicia Blake's life story. My life and affairs." "Affairs?" Mel snorted, leaning over the counter. "Let me see that." He snatched the book from Vera's hands, his thick fingers leaving a faint smudge of grease on the glossy cover featuring the glamorous movie star. "Hey," Vera protested. "I was on page 123. Page 123. Huh? Mel squinted at the text. "What's so special about page 123? Jolene chimed in, her drawl thick as molasses. "That's the good part, Mel. Felicia is describing the most exciting kiss of her entire life. She says it happened on a beach in Brooklyn." Mel froze. The rag in his hand stopped mid-wipe. His eyes, usually narrowed in suspicion or annoyance, widened slightly. "Brooklyn? Yeah," Vera said, reaching for the book. "She says it was a magical night at Coney Island. She was known as Franny Bukowski back then." The color drained from Mel's face, only to be replaced by a flush of red that started at his neck and worked its way up to his receding hairline. He looked at the book, then at Alice, then back at the book. A strange, lopsided grin began to form on his face. "Coney Island," he whispered. "Franny Bukowski." Alice paused mid-step. "Mel, you okay? You look like you just swallowed a pit." Mel looked up, his chest puffing out like a pigeon in mating season. "Franny Bukowski. I knew a Franny Bukowski. Wait a minute. Brooklyn, Coney Island, Great Kisser." The diner went silent. Even the air conditioner seemed to pause its rattling. "Mel," Alice said, her voice laced with skepticism. "Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" Mel slammed the book closed and held it up like a trophy, suggesting,